What's going on, everybody? It's another Sunday. Another week has gone by. I'm happy to see you guys. We have a lot to talk about. We have a real conversation that needs to be had because there's a lot of hype. And you guys know I'm basically a moderate, and I'm against hype in the negative sense and the positive sense. If you notice, all these hyped up projects, I usually start trying to be like, calm down. And then when people are saying the whole bunch of things are bad, I'm like, no, it's not that bad. Some things are really bad and some things are really good, though. So we try to put things in a proper perspective. I know that's not good for YouTube because social media benefits when you're extreme. You get the most clicks, you get the best clips. People are saying crazy stuff. That's why I don't think this channel ever really grows super big, but that's not the purpose of what we do here. I talked about purpose and meaningfulness and all that on last episode, and I really mean that. So there's a certain mission statement that I have, and I just want to help people that are kind of on a similar path to me or other paths that may deviate from there. So we a lot of this mission is to provide information and my perspective. And you could do with this information whatever you want. I'm really not, I don't promote relocating to Kenya. Even, I'm not even promoting purchasing or investing. What I'm trying to do is if you so choose or are thinking about choosing to get involved in real estate or business in Kenya, that this information is there for you to help decide if you want to, invest or buy or relocate, and then how to do that on the real estate side and ways to be safe. That is the whole point of this channel and what I'm doing and Almasi Realty and everything that we got going on. While people are coming in, for those of you guys who don't know me that may be watching this later, my name is Ryan Fagan. I am a real estate broker in New Jersey, also a real estate investor. I've been buying real estate since 2010 with house hacking on my first property with a VA loan, all the way to buying more properties, BRRRR, flips, all that traditional real estate stuff that you may have heard of in the US. In 2024, I came to Kenya and started investing, and now we have Almasi Realty, which is basically a real estate brokerage in Kenya that helps people buy and sell. We're trying to be more transparent, more advisory. Our role, just like this channel, is to guide and advise people so they can make the best choices for themselves and their family or whatever their goals are. We try not to push certain things or narratives. We just want to help you as the smart individuals that you are make the best choice for yourselves because I'm hoping that you would know what's best for you. So we try to help with that. My background, I have a bachelor's in business administration from Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with a focus on real estate. I've worked in the mortgage industry. I've had maybe 35 to 40 different licenses to practice in different states. Um, I've worked in property preservation during all the financial crisis and the foreclosure crisis, maintaining and helping to get those properties back on the market and sold after they were foreclosed on. I've also worked as a real estate analyst for a commercial appraisal firm in Philadelphia. If anyone's interested in real estate in the United States as a young person, I highly recommend getting involved in that type of business. I was an analyst, basically help with appraisals and dealing with interesting scenarios, eminent domain, forced tax assessments, things like that, and valuing. For example, we worked on a project one time. The city of Philadelphia was basically taking land along the waterfront to build their waterfront promenade walkway. They're trying to connect everything along the river. And it was like, how do we come up with the value that the city will pay the owners for um, like a 10-foot strip of land against the river. And it's like, how do we value 10 feet along the edge of the property? And it's very interesting. You get into puzzles on valuation and things like that. So you learn a lot from there. So I have a wide breadth of experience in real estate. I'm definitely learning, and I think I'd feel comfortable to say that I'm pretty good with the Nairobi market now. But that's my background is all in real estate, and that's why maybe that's why you can listen to me a little bit. I would almost say still make your own opinions though. But today, what I want to talk about, what's going on? If you're in here, comment, say hello. Don't be a ninja watcher. Um, Usually we get a whole bunch of people saying what's up, so don't leave me lonely. Also, you guys can ask any of your questions, and I usually read most of the comments and I try to answer all of the comments. So when you guys have questions or have anything that you guys want to hear about, you guys kind of direct the show. I do have some key points I want to get to, but this is an open, free flowing conversation, and we never know where it may go. Sometimes we touch into a lot of other topics, and this is where I get more personal because if you guys notice on normal YouTube channel, I don't talk about myself or anything like that. Black Mac 500. I'm thinking about going to Nairobi for a month. Can you recommend a good Airbnb? I was recommend people stay at Escada, which has 270 rooftop. It's in Westlands on Raptor Road across the highway. But then their elevators were not working, but now they're supposed to be working, but it's a little janky right now. Uh, I don't like giving recommendations because everybody got a different level. Like there's some people I just got off a call and they say we just stay at JW Marriott, and I'm like, well, let me borrow some money because it's very expensive to stay there. So everyone has different budgets, what their goals are. It's a little hard to give blanket recommendations. Um, when I would go before I bought my place, I would stay at Alba Garden in Kilimani, but I don't think that's going to work for everybody else. I think it's a good place, but it's definitely not the JW Marriott, but very affordable. And I don't like paying the prices in Westlands. I think it's overpriced for what you're getting. I'd rather stay in Kilimani, and then when I want to go to Westlands, I'll just take a $4 or $5 Uber up there. Although during traffic, I want to do that. What's going on, man? JB, what's up? I'm still buying Bitcoin, even though you he was clowning me a little with the memes. I, I don't know. I'm gonna try. I mean, you're well informed though. I don't know if I could teach you anything, but I'll provide a perspective. John, what's going on, man? John from Space. Oh my goodness, I meet the coolest people ever. I meet people that work in space. Like, what does that even mean? I work in space. That's crazy. Like the talented, amazing people I meet is really cool. Work in space? What? I didn't even know Kenya had a space program, first of all. So that's crazy. But very cool conversations. My money is funny, so I just need 24-hour power and water. I'd say Kilimani, Alba Garden is a good one. N- Pretty, I like Alba Garden. I've stayed there. Like I'm boring, guys. I don't go to different places. Once I find a place that I like, I just stay there. Been binging your Belgravia video, so torn between that and executive suites, heavily leaning towards executive suites. I think both of those are good options and are very comparable. Just go with your gut. Um, a lot of like once we classify the projects, if they're comparable, the comparison is kind of up to you at that point. For me, I like Belgravia because of the greenery that they're bringing in. I think you walk into that lobby with the waterfall. Um, and having the outdoor restaurants, and it's basically very open. Uh, I like that. Executive Suites actually doesn't have like a courtyard, so it's a bit more corporate-y feeling or more built up. I think those vibes are very different. So that's probably a differentiating factor is that executive is much more because there's a block A, B, and C, and so there's no courtyard block. Not that it's crowded, but there's less open green space, but you're on Riverside Drive, so you could just go outside. Now, if you're at Belgravia, you could do that too in Kilauea, which has some of the better sidewalks, but Riverside also does. But these, so guys, when you work with Almasi Realty, which is our real estate company, you consult with me as well as our team. And so this is how we help you come to the conclusion on the best property for you. But we have to know what you like. And so these are the type of exercises that we have with clients. What's good? Boom. I really like Diplomat and Hefe Palace locations, but they're basically Hefe's not sold out. You could get good stuff. Hefe still has street view properties available, so you could definitely still get Hefe. Hefe Palace now has their building materials on site that you can look at. They're decent. Again, Hefe is a new developer from China, so hit the like button. Yeah, I always forget to do all that YouTube stuff. Thank you. Executive looks crowded. I don't think their unit count is that much, but see, Wonder Properties as a business is really good because they're good at making a lot of money from their projects. Like, I do think, I know we ranked Gaia really high, but I kind of don't like how they structured their blocks. I feel like they have too many blocks there. Any NSSF info, I emailed them. Oh, shoot. I have to follow up on that. Nice. What's your pricing model at Almasi? Do you have a service charge? No, we're free to work with us. Totally free. The developers pay us. Will we charge people in the future? Maybe. I would, if we can run it without doing that, then we'll do that. And actually, guys, in sales, there's like conversion rate. And so the amount of time we're doing consultations versus what we're converting right now is quite high. So it's not really necessary to charge people for consultations. 2 new developments on Riverside Drive. Torino, I didn't even hear about this one. Oh, I saw Seasons about to get mega traffic. Then you have Cheval, you have Balkis, the Saruni, which is mostly done and not sold out. Maybe they should lower the price. Just saying. And the traffic on Riverside Drive already stacks up real bad by the lights. I think Riverside is cool for certain people with a certain lifestyle, but me, I would find it annoying, especially if the traffic gets much worse. That area is not designed for the amount of units coming there. But but to me, executive is, if you're going to buy in Riverside, Executive Suites is the best project. But I don't know. I haven't seen Torino or Seasons yet. Do you cater to Kenyans in the diaspora? Would be nice to partner with local banks. Yes. So high on our list of things that we need to do better and to offer clients and be more knowledgeable and provide assistance, which we do in the US, is assisting with financing and linking you up with the right people to find the money for things. Definitely going to do that. We work with a lot of Kenyan diaspora already. I really don't want, I want this to be a company that serves everyone. That's a little bit of a bad business model, but I be like in general, it's better to niche, just in any business, not just real estate. But I think our mission's a little bit bigger than just like pure business. So we want to elevate the real estate game in Kenya in every way, especially make it a little bit more advisory versus less direct sales oriented. So we need to provide education, help you find the right financing people, help you get the right lawyers, help you um, do the right due diligence, make the whole transaction a better experience and safer. That is our main number one goal. With that being said, oh, here's our wait. How do we do it? There we go. Um, we still have the agreement with FKC Legal, which are some of the better lawyers that you could deal with here in Kenya. There's all of their information. They've done a lot of work for a lot of clients. Oh gosh, it went away real fast. That's Franklin and his company, and then now there's two different lawyers because Abdi is doing his own thing also. So you would have, I'd recommend you talk to both of them and see who you like working with the most. But you have options now as far as the lawyer situation. Would you consider helping and doing a consultation on something? I can't consult on something I'm not informed enough about. Um, that's a whole nother. We're gonna get there one thing at a time. We're perfecting our sales and customer service and what we're trying to do in Nairobi, and then we'll expand out. Now, when we have listings, like we have one in Diani, Ebony Stays. I should bring this up. I'll bring it up. Um, we know about that project. We've done the due diligence. We've done some research about the project. And so we're comfortable listing that and presenting that to you guys. So let me bring up. And always use our website, almasirealty.com. It is the best I can do as far as making sorting through real estate in Kenya as good as possible. Here is the website. Let me do it like that. Yeah, here's our, wait. Yeah, here's the website. We have some verified listings, Luminara, Pandora, Belgravia. These are, kind of listings that we stand behind, but also Ebony Stays is in Diani. This is like a mini hotel property. We went over it before. I won't take too much of your time. Right by the beach on the second row, as they would say. Definitely walking distance from the beach. And then there's 10 bedrooms. And actually, there's more than 10 bathrooms. When you look at everything at the property, there's a video about it. And it's not just this building, it's that building with the pool. And then here's the other building, which there's multiple units. Honestly, it's a big money maker, especially during the high season. We have an investor profile on this that goes over numbers and projections. So if you're interested in this property, you can reach out to us. You can fill out the form here. You can download the investor perspective. You can reach out to it to me and the team, and we can get you whatever information. But this is a really interesting place. It's also able to be subdivided. So these two different the lot was subdivided here where the gate is, so you can actually buy one side or the other. Obviously, that's negotiable, and you'd have to, negotiate how you're going to do that, the pricing and everything. But that's a possibility as well. All right. So, I asked that because I've been trying to figure out whether they'd want us to route pay slips through them. What? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that. Hey there. Most diasporans kind of do the 2-year payment plan, but I'm a little risk averse, so I definitely prefer working with a bank instead. Hard to explain in text. I got you. I understand where that's coming from. We could talk about it. Actually, your risk aversion is the theme for today's topic. The NSSF Twin Towers are a government project. I think they'll put the units up for sale when they're halfway done with the structure. Ebony Stays, great vibes next to the Immaculate Beach, Rocket Red Countdown, Liftoff. Hey, yeah. I was super impressed. I like that property could make a lot of money. Like if you want to, like if you're relocating and you have money, but you don't know how to keep generating income, if you operate just that building, it would definitely pay for your cost of living and everything. Uh, because having 10 different bedrooms and they're structured in different ways. There's studios, there's 2 bedrooms, there's the house, there's the really small studio, like DSQ places. It has a lot that you could rent to all kinds of different people and at different times. So you'd always have stuff available. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So, why should you not buy in Kenya? Well, everyone's different. But from doing many, many, many consultations, seeing the people that buy, seeing the people that don't, I think I have some special insight on the personality types, the places where people come from, their perspectives, the reasons why they're buying, the things that turn people off, the things that, problems people have been having, the success some people are having. And so I think I have enough information to talk about this. Now, let me say that me as an individual have very stable income from rental properties and from the VA from when I was in the military. I am in a situation where I have lots of extra money that if it was to be risked or lost, so if you take a lot of risk and then it ends up not working out, I won't be out on the street. So it's easier for me to take risks. So when I came to Kenya, I really just bought the first property just to see what would happen, to be honest. And it was only $40,000. So I said, well, let's just see what happened. And I brought a partner in. So it was just me and the other person. And so it wasn't a big deal. We put $20,000 each. Let's see if we get scammed. I don't know. And so that's how I learn, is by doing. And then I come back and report to you guys, really. Not everyone's in that situation. Excuse me. Not everyone's in that situation. And so I want to go through some of the risks of buying, because there's no way around some of the risk. And so if you are risk adverse, especially if you come from the West, where there's this Western ideology that, like, you're in this protective bubble. Like like people, unless crime even has ever happened to them before, I feel like many Westerners just feel like, oh well, the police will protect me, or this will save me, or like they walk around with this feeling of impunity because of the systems around them that they can rely on and they think will protect them. Now, some of that I think is a facade, but like in the U.S., for example, if you're walking on the sidewalk and you fall in a hole, you can hold people accountable even though you fell in the hole, which actually I think is a little crazy. So you can sue the landowner for having a hole there where you were walking, even though you could have just been aware and avoided the hole. In Kenya, there's lots of holes in the sidewalk, and if you fall, people might help you, but there's gonna be, like, there's no recourse. There's nobody to go after. Don't the thing is, don't fall in the hole, and don't be texting on your phone and then fall in the hole. Like, you have to be responsible for you in a different level than you do in most Western places. In Western places, you're kind of babied, like even like the balconies. If you fell off of a balcony in the US, you could blame the people that built it, that they should have prevented you from falling off the balcony. If you fall off the balcony in Kenya, you done fell off the balcony. And so this is a very fundamental ideological and philosophical approach to being. And so if you're very attached to the Western way of being, and you just expect other people to look out for you, Kenya's going to be hard for you, because it does, like, no one's going to, if you get scammed, who are you going to call? You're going to have to pay the people that you call, and they might just take the money and not help you anyway. Or, like, anything really can happen. You have to be kind of street smart. And for some reason, there's a segment of people that come in an emotional way, returning back to Africa and doing all that stuff. And these are my brothers and sisters. And then you combine that with this Western attitude of being protected by systems, and you have a recipe for disaster. You really do. Um, and there's a segment of people like that. There, there is another group, like, so for example, things that people will ask me that start making me a little concerned. So what they're going to do, they're going to ask, how do we know the building is safe? And a Western concept is that, hey, we have building inspectors, we have permits, we have all these people that look at the project throughout the time and ensure that it's safe, basically the government. Now, Kenya has some of those systems to some degree, but are they working? Let's just say, because I don't feel like talking about this whole corruption thing, because I have a unique point of view about it. But it, like, they'll ask, how do we know the building is safe? And then I have to kind of have a really long conversation about how things work. But the real answer is, because the real answer is you have to use your own knowledge and intuition about these things. Because if you happen to buy a building that's unsafe, you're going to suffer the consequences directly. No one's going to bail you out of that problem. So what can you do? And this was my approach, and is my approach. And what I'm doing is sharing my information that I have gathered about these things. This is why I harp on quality. So what you do is, when you go to a development, do the salespeople have on dirty shirts and shoes and don't know what they're talking about? Like, what's going on here, right? So is there junk laying in the middle of the floor of their sales office? And so you have to think to yourself, okay, this developer's interest is in presenting me a picture of what they're going to build. And they should be trying to convince me that it's going to be really good and they know what they're doing. And so when I go to your sales office and people are confused, they don't have the answers to the questions, there's trash in the middle, like, just laying around. The office is in a junkyard. What do you think they're doing building the building, if that's their behavior with sales? That's how you protect yourself, is say, this doesn't look like they are running a good operation here. Maybe I should stay away from this situation. But for Western people, for some reason, that doesn't always click in their mind. Maybe because they're trying to be open-minded, which I do understand. But there's no government system that's going to go and make sure you're safe if you decide to buy that thing. Yes, yes, you'll have a contract and it says something, and we can get into the legal aspects of risk. But guys, really, like, let's have, like, I want to say have common sense, but it goes beyond that. It's just because there's an ideology that, well, they have a license, so it's okay. No. Delete all that out of your mind because that is not a good way to approach this. All right, let me look at you're saying my volume's low, but anyone else feel like it's low? You can sue in Kenya for falling in a pothole on the sidewalk. There's a lawyer who sues every time he hits a pothole on the road. And okay, I don't feel like this is very common. They arrested a guy in charge of urban planning recently that had the news said he had 65 million Kenyan shillings in cash. Yes, crazy. Everything is about money in Kenya. If someone robs you and you want to get the police involved, you have to pay the police to help. Also, Ryan, in the law, there is an obligation for buyer beware, and this applies to both real estate or all other interactions with people. So the obligation is personal. So trust but verify. And that's the thing. Look, the law has things written that will protect you. I'm just saying that the over reliance on those systems is a problem. I personally, I don't operate like that. I'm not going to like see. This is the thing. I think you should take responsibility of your risk outside of what these systems. You can't offload your responsibility to systems or the law or anything as far as risk. So if you're a person that needs to feel secure about these things, I really don't think that you should be buying in Kenya because there's lots of risk. So if your mind goes, what about, oh, what if the building collapses? What if this happens? What if that happens? I think you should just buy in Europe or wherever you're at, to be honest. Because you could have a successful purchase in Kenya, but if something goes wrong, I don't know. I think it's going to be problematic for you. Do you guys feel like the volume's low? I feel like I'm very loud. Like I'm hearing myself very loud, but City Hall employees have been charged with manslaughter for collapsing buildings. So after you die, you'll get recourse. Got it. Okay. What's his name? I haven't heard of it. Volume is fine. Wandering lawyer Amiri. The lawyer's name is Ahmed Nasir. He sued the highway authority after a road chipping broke his Range Rover's windscreen, and he got compensated, but it's not very common. Yeah, I think I don't know. I see people fall every day, and they don't sue the government about it, but maybe they could. No, volume's fine. Okay, cool. So, if you're very risk adverse, I'd say like why get I just don't think it's for you. I think we have to acknowledge that buying in Kenya, the risk is higher than buying in wherever you're from, probably. I, I don't there's no way around it. And so you have to be okay with that to entertain purchasing in Kenya. Right? Does that make sense? What do you guys think about this? You know, because maybe, and this, see, because some of you guys are giving pushback about, oh, well, someone sued because of this, and this does happen, but, and then add the fact, if you're foreign, are you gonna be able to find the right people to fight this fight? And then why even fight this fight with the recourse if you have problems with the building or whatever? Again, my solution is just work with the professional people because you go to the Pandora sales office, which I grant you, these things can be a facade, but you have to make the best decision possible. You go to the Pandora sales office, they're giving you caramelized popcorn and they got the good music, the good music playing. They're doing all kinds of stuff. They built a whole show house to show you what it's going to look like. It probably cost them a lot of money to build the show house that is only temporary that they're going to knock down. What does that tell you about how they do business? As a caveat, though, I don't love their new project, unfortunately. But I gotta go look at it closer. But I don't like what they're. I don't e- now. It's like a joint project. There's something weird going on with that. But and you see, so this you see, like I didn't even mean to bring that up like that, but that's how I'm approaching this. Is why'd they launch it this way? They're saying there's a joint uh, project, but half the units are already unavailable. They won't disclose who the other buyer is, and it could be total. It's probably legitimate, but for me, I'm like, it's just too many weird things going on. I'm okay. That's I, that's my point of view, and that's how I think people should approach this. Obviously, since it's my point of view, I think other people should carry that. I mean, you could do what you want, but I just want I want to like take some sandpaper off of this very smooth, clean expectation of doing business or doing anything in Kenya, especially with buying the real estate specifically. See, don't get me involved with all these people. I ain't touching that one. Hello there. Do you know the commercial rental market in Nairobi or have a contact I could reach out to? I'm actually trying to open a small barbershop in Westlands. Most realtors have no clue. I am among those people who have not much of a clue about the commercial. But if you want to talk to me, I'll give you my thoughts. I don't know. I'd more probably have information about what I think about the location. I'm up for the conversation. Can I refer you to someone? Off the top of my mind, I feel like Oscar with Elite Sanctuaries is quite knowledgeable in general, but I don't know if he knows commercial either. uh, did you hear about the wandering investor getting scoped, beat up, and robbed? No. Did that happen? What? Is that real? Send a link. They do that in Kenya? I didn't think they did that in Kenya. Thought that was oh, was he in Colombia or something? I don't know. Dang. I guess because I was in the military and I traveled and my personality, like I'm very skeptical and I've never been robbed. No one's stolen my phone. Nothing ever bad has happened to me, but I pay close attention to everything. Now, when I go back to Kenya, something's going to happen after saying that, though. But all right, so risk in Kenya in general, you are as a foreigner, but even as a diaspora, you have a sign on your head that you're an ATM machine and that people can withdraw money from you in a deceitful way, and they'll be totally okay with it. Yes, that's true. That is how a lot of people look at you. I'm not trying to say everybody, but of course, it's a thing. I I've met with I've done consultations with people that like their Uber driver told them they knew an agent from the airport, and then they're out looking at properties with this random person that you have no idea who they are. Does that seem like a good idea? You don't know anything. And now you're looking at properties for hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes with this random person who you have no idea what. what they're doing or into. Like, does that just sound like a good idea? No, it's not a good idea. And why are you doing that? I don't get it. Uh, Social media content. There's lots of people now making a lot of content that it's easy to make things look good and amazing. If you notice, no one shows outside. Now, there's complications to showing outside, but if you notice in our content, we've been trying to show you more about the location and everything. Uh, I think because they're trying to show you the best parts of something versus giving you an objective overview. So I just think a higher degree of skepticism is required. Um, Here's another thing that I think Westerners aren't familiar with is that Kenya is a very polite, nice, welcoming place. And so your normal ability to detect bad behavior or bad intentions is hard because you don't know the culture. And people are being so nice that, like, it's amazing. But they'll be nice to you and be scamming you at the same time. So it's performed in a different way that is a little bit hard to um, it's hard for us to detect culturally because we're not used to that. The other thing is that there's a it's almost it's an East African thing that people won't say no. And it can easily mislead more direct cultures because if you're at a sales office and you ask them a question like I don't know, what's something that's clearly no? Does it come with a pool? I mean, that one they'll probably say no. But sometimes people are like, well, maybe I'll have to look into it. Maybe there's plans about it. I'll have to check the plans. Like what? Just say no. That's not really a good example. I got to think of something better. Um, I can't think of a good situation. But the result is when you ask certain questions, people will become avoidant if they don't know the answer. They'll delay you and tell you that they'll get back to you, or they'll just kind of like let you think something and never correct it or tell you otherwise. And it's done in such a polite way that you may not realize that it's happening. Especially salespeople will let you be misled, like, and maybe they're not lying, but they're just not being clear. So they'll obfuscate things and make it confusing so that you just keep going along with it. Hopefully that makes sense. But I see it's very subtle, but it's a very easy way for someone with a more direct mindset to fall victim to not being corrected or subtly be told no. Because I've been to projects with Kai and then have a conversation with him afterwards, and he's like, "Oh, well, they said they're going to plan on doing this," and I'm like, "That meant no." So that's a big one, but that's more of a cultural thing. But then when you add the willingness for people to scam you, it's quite dangerous because the politeness combined with the avoidant behavior and not directly saying no can leave you very confused or misled. It's a powerful combination of things that I feel like people have a hard time navigating. Let's see. Oh, he got scoped in Colombia and robbed. Dang, that's messed up, man. Can you talk more about Pandora? Is it all sold out? No, there's some availability. You know, they drive me crazy because I feel really unprofessional when I send you guys a picture of their binder with little marks on top of the units, and that's the best thing they have for availability. Like literally, they have the grid, and then they just color in. Like, why is this not at least an Excel spreadsheet, or even better yet, a Google sheet that they keep updated centrally so that we know what's going on? But that's how they do their availability. So, uh, and this is the impact that we're having with Almasi Realty. Is like, I'm like, guys, like, can you guys do better with this? Like, why in 2026 with AI and all this technology do you have a piece of paper and that's the only way that you could show the availability of this project? Really? Like, what is that? Why? Why? Whatever. Let them keep doing it. Eventually, we're just going to keep growing our business and then do things in a way that is plainly, obviously better and that uses technology. The technology is right there. I don't know why they don't use it. It's crazy. It's the British influence. They got us good. We are too polite to a fault. It's not out of malice. And yeah, well, the politeness is why people love, like, Kenyans are awesome. But the thing is, it's like a secret weapon if you want to use it for bad, because like Westerners aren't used to that, so they're going to believe you. But I mean, overall, it's a good thing to be polite and nice and all that. I think that's good. But the indirectness can. I don't have a. Well, do I have a problem with the indirectness? This is a big thing that they took on Ken Gonda's channel, O'Shea Duke Jackson, which hopefully we can link up and do a podcast. I have a lot of thoughts that I don't share, but I'll share it when I do that podcast. He always says that it's very passive aggressive, which it definitely is passive aggressive, but it's also passive passive, where people just like, if you talk to a salesperson at one of these offices and start asking really hard questions about details of things, they'll like break down and then they'll just stop talking to you. Not everybody, but it happens. Um, and guys, in my videos, I don't do that. I don't put them on the spot that hard. I do that after. And then when we do the members only videos, I'll share that information in the members only videos where it's should you buy this project, which we have a bunch of those coming out. Um, but it is very passive, and it can mislead you very hard. Like, if you understand that it's passive, I think after a while you'll start to understand how things work. Yeah, I hate that about Kenya too. Just say no. Yeah, but you know, if you, I love the culture, so I can't get mad when that's like, things come with pros and cons. And honestly, doing business is hard when you're less direct. Um, but okay, well, we're gonna do our business in a direct way, and then let's compete and see what happens. You know. Um, and then maybe they, you know, things change. But it's a pro and a con, I guess. Okay, um, buying off plan is inherently risky because you're buying a concept that is not completed, and so going from the concept to the execution and conclusion of that concept, regardless of where you are, is risky because people have to actually build something. And even if you're good at building things, things can go wrong. You have weather, you have conflict in the Middle East, our ships getting diverted, the gas prices change, maybe the materials change, price goes up. There's a lot of things that just can happen. Sorry, my lighting is a little weird. There's just things can happen. And so there's just a general risk with that. Now we want to mitigate that risk. We want a good sales agreement that gives you again recourse. I'm not saying that you're just SOL if something happens, but I think that's the attitude that you should have though. Like there's a scenario where this goes bad and you lose, you know? Now, how do you protect yourself from that is the next thing that you should be thinking about. But you know, what's cool as a side note? Like Luminar even shares they send me their concrete testing of their pillars and stuff. See, when companies do that, then I go, okay, I feel I feel like the risk of dealing with this developer is much lower because they're transparent, they're willing to provide this information, they're giving us construction updates, they're even giving the test results of the concrete versus this other developer. They become avoidant when you ask questions, they're giving you unclear answers. And so when we do advisory, this is some of the subliminal qualitative differences that we talk about with different developers. And so if you're wondering why do we talk about Luminar and Belgravia so much? Because of the way that they're doing things. We talk about the Diplomat because they've done a whole bunch of other projects. We like the location, we like the pricing. Like there's a reason why we cover certain projects a lot more than others and talk about them a lot more. Especially because there's so many options. Why wouldn't you just buy the best one? Why would you buy for the same price something that's not as good? Now, when we approach the real estate, it depends what category you're in. There's larger family style properties. Maybe you want the hotel style for investment. It depends why you're buying, what your reason is, um, kind of your point of view, what you value and don't value as much. Like if you're a digital nomad and want a nice workspace, then you're going to want to buy somewhere that has a good co-working space maybe. So maybe that's the reason why you buy this project versus that project. Um, that's kind of how we do that. That's like how we do things and how we go about it. So yes, say this project has better quality, but maybe you prefer the amenities that this other project. We're going to tell you that we think the quality of this other project's better, but maybe this one suits you because it has these things that you need. And then let's find all those things that you need and find the best one of that. That's kind of how we go about it. The directness can be too much, too direct. Uh yeah, so I think if you're direct, you could be perceived as being rude. But I, it's funny, just like the politeness can be used in a certain way, the directness can also be used in a certain way. So I'll usually start off very patient and very, uh, like, I try to blend in with the culture as far as how I go about things. But turning on the directness gets stuff done sometimes. At the expense of maybe they think you're rude, but I kind of don't care at that point. So you could use how you're used to doing things to your advantage in the right situation. But here's the thing about directness in Kenya. You still have to be polite. So it helps if you add the polite words first. Now, I'll never say kindly because I don't like that. But doing a proper greeting, um, maybe a little small talk, and then being like, this is what needs to be done right now. It has to be today. It can work, but don't be mad. If you get angry about something, which where I get where I probably have gotten the most frustrated is when I'm doing handovers because I'm taking it personally when I'm asking them to fix something and then they're clearly doing the bare minimum just to appease me and think I'm stupid and not going to notice like this is clearly not done well. But anytime you get mad, it's not going to, like, if you start yelling at people, it doesn't work. Yelling at people and being direct are two different things, right? So you could be direct and still polite. So as long as you stay in the polite range, you're good. Once you get to the yelling at people, they will not help you no matter what the situation. Like it's not going to be like you will not find success operating that way from my observation. But is that really scamming? It sounds more like an agent who are unable to work in a proper manner. Just yeah. So the words scam is like an intentional act of something. Um, Unprofessional or just not good at your job is a different thing. But they blend together when you know that if you tell someone something that's not good about a project, but you do know that it's not good and don't say it, would we call that misleading? What would we call what is the word for that? Because that happens a lot. Now, is it the person's is it a salesperson's responsibility to only tell you the good things and leave out all the bad stuff? See, I think that's the difference is like sales in the US probably used to be more like that. But I feel like culturally now we're in a space of like it's hard to hide things, so you just kind of say what it is. And my view on sales in general is actually that your job is not to make something look good, it's to help people make decisions, make better decisions. You should provide options to people and then have them pick because they'll still buy. Like this is the thing in Kenya I really disagree with the sales like the agents is like they think fundamentally that they should impress you with the project. And I think I want you to see what projects and then you pick which one you want to buy. Fundamental difference to how we go about things. But I guess that's a scarcity thing. I don't know. Like, do they not want to take time with the client? I think it goes deep. I don't really even want to get into all like how that happens. But I do think most agents in Kenya, that's their like training, philosophy, sales is like, look at this keychain. This is the best keychain ever. It can solve all of your problems. It even has this key ring on it. It's indestructible. It's amazing. It's green. It's the best color. And you should buy it right now. That's like the way sales, I feel like, is done in Kenya within the real estate industry. Now, me is like, okay, so there's this green keychain, and it's shaped like a dumpster. It represents, I don't know, people that like the trash business. It's a unique thing to have, so it's definitely a conversation starter. If you like green, then maybe like so. So it's more like, who is this for, and is it for you? Or if this is not for you, I have something else over here that suits. So now, like once I know a little bit about what you want, now I can give you better options that are geared towards what you want. Sorry, I don't know why I got into a whole sales philosophy, but I think that's the biggest difference. Callie, what's going on? How are you? Let me hey. How many apartments do you own in Nairobi and how are the returns so far? I just have two. Um I've talked about it before. I don't want to get all into that, but it's fine. I'm going to have a video that has all the numbers of the investment property now that it's been about a year. Since you know so much about construction, why don't you build your own building? I need more money, but yeah, I will. Um, I definitely will, but I need money, and I'm not borrowing money to do it or taking money from you guys to do it. We've seen the American homes built of cardboard, very whack. And this is one of those emotional responses where like people think that they're winning by like saying stuff like that. I like, okay, what are you talking about? Uh, but that's because they are measured on actual sales booked in, not necessarily the customers getting information. Uh, if if you provide good information, you'll get more sales. See, this is a fundamental different way of thinking. You know, like that, whatever. I'm not going to get all into sales philosophy, but it's literally a fundamental different way of approaching things. They both could work. I mean, there's very successful agent that is like really loud and aggressive and putting himself out there, which I highly respect, but it's much more direct sales facing than would be my style. Uh, Legal risk, due diligence. Obviously, going to a different country where you don't know the system is inherently riskier than buying in your home country. Also, there's rules that disadvantage you as a buyer to some degree, specifically the leasehold freehold. Now, that doesn't really apply to Nairobi, but there are cases where it's better to be a local than it is a foreigner. The other thing is, if you don't have residency in Kenya, you cannot apply for things that Kenyans can get for free, KRA PIN, Ardhi Sasa, etc. Therefore, it you have to spend more money and find the right people to acquire these legal instruments that you're going to need. And then you're not going to be informed. And then when you compound that with the other things that we're talking about, being able to be misled, the avoidant passive aggressive culture, uh, being misled because people are polite, um, you can easily, and then the willingness of people to scam you makes a good recipe for all those things increase your risk. So, because bad things can happen with all these things stacked together because you don't know. That's why this channel exists, because I'm trying to help sort that stuff out through my own experience and then bringing professionals like Franklin, FKC Legal, Abdi as well. We don't have someone for property management yet. Um, try to sort the developers for you. These people have high quality, they deliver. These guys we don't talk about because they don't. Um, this area is for this area is for that. Um, we're trying to reduce the risk, but the risk is higher. And so, the funny thing is, this whole conversation, what we're trying to do is mitigate those risks for people, but we can't act like they don't exist. And that's an important distinction. So again, back to the legal, there's, for example, there's a project that is in a legal battle still that has not been able to do groundbreaking. And so then the question is, what is, can you get your money back, et cetera, et cetera, which you can, it's not a big thing. But did you even know that was a possibility when you gave your booking fee? So if you paid 500,000 Kenyan shillings, like $4,000, 3,500 dollars, were you aware of the risk? Because now because you could have invested that money in something else, but now the developer's holding it because there's a lawsuit, right? Where you like I think where we're trying to go is like I want you to be aware of the risk and okay with it and understand what can happen. Therefore, you can make a better decision. Because I don't want you to take a risk that you don't under you're taking a risk unknowingly. That's scary. If if you buy Bitcoin, it's risky and you know that. That's fine. And if you and this way, if you are risk adverse for your money going down, then don't buy it. So there's kind of two things going on is are you aware of the risk and then are you willing to take it? And I think again what this channel is here for or what I'm trying to do is let you know those things and what can happen as much as possible. Um yeah, let's see. Godfika, what's going on, man? How are you? Hello, fellow New Jersey and Nairobian. Hope to see you on the ground in Nairobi. I own in Kilimani. Ah, it's crazy. There's like four different groups of people. I actually met with some clients that were buying in Nairobi, and I met them actually down the street from where I'm at. Uh, this is a crazy small world. There's a bunch of people from New Jersey that I've been trying to meet with in person here, and then how are we interested in the same thing? Amazing. All right, let's take a break real quick. Why am I wearing a jersey? So this jersey is from Kawa Pride. Wait, where is it? It's on this side. This is a team in Nairobi, and this team was purchased by an American guy, and he's been putting a lot of money into the club. He bought them uh, a clubhouse, so all the players live there. They have a food program. He's been sharing all the numbers. It's basically, what is it? Uh, 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 Welcome to Wrexham, if you guys have seen that, which is one of my favorite shows. They're basically doing that on YouTube. Let me bring it up. And actually, it's so crazy because I had this idea before their videos started popping up. Um, but I think it's such a cool story. Hold on. I think it's such a cool story because um, I think they're providing opportunity for people, and then they're like elevating the game a certain way with like lower division. They're because they're a fifth division football team in Nairobi, and they're kind of elevating the professionalism and opportunity, and they're trying to get promoted all the way to the Kenyan Premier League, and they have a whole YouTube series about it. I'm trying to find a good video. Mm, let's see. Let's see what a good video is. I should have probably prepped this. I'm sorry, guys. I'll just play the intro of one of their videos, maybe. Hold on, let me share it.
After a long week of rest with 0 games, Power Pride returned to action last week, not with just one match, but a huge doubleheader, a Saturday match, and a Monday match, 2 crucial fixtures as we enter the 4th quarter of the season, sitting at 3rd on the table. Any loss at this point is a death sentence for our promotion hopes. We have to be in 1st to get promoted, so we were bringing it all. Salehe, Govid, Mwinyi, Moniki, and all our stars were back in the lineups, ready citizens who had been exposed to the virus. Amoebas erupted due.
So I probably should have got a better video because this is more about the games, but it's also about the people and the team and how they went about doing everything. And they actually share like all their financials, what they're spending, what they bought, the food plan that they have, everything that they're doing. I think it's so cool what they're doing. And it's funny because it was an idea that I was having as far as that. But I weirdly think it's kind of similar to what we're doing with the real estate company, Almasi, is that like no one is doing that in Kenyan football, and now they have their own series, and it basically by their success, they're able to elevate even the other teams, right? Because they're getting more awareness. The whole world becomes aware of this story and all that kind of stuff. I just think it's very cool and beneficial. But check it out. It's Jersey Bird is the YouTube channel, and they're also a Jersey company. So they make jerseys for all kinds of teams all across the world. Actually, I'm in a league here, and we get our custom jerseys. So maybe I'll have them do our next set of jerseys. I'll probably wear one of our team jerseys because I sponsor our team here, and I still play somehow. Even though I'm getting gray, it's not good. It's getting rough for me because we play in an open league. Actually, the league champions play at like the professional stadium for the finals, so it's like a whole big deal. But check them out if you're into that because they're actually pretty close by. You could actually go to a game if you're in Nairobi because they play like 40 minutes away up Thika Road. So they're not too far away. Check it out. Look into it. I think it's really cool. That project better not be the one I am investing in. What? Which one? Oh, no. The project that stalled is Amethyst, and it's not their fault that it got stalled. I just didn't. I don't want to knock them because that wasn't the point of this whole thing. But they're one of the better developers, but they're just in a bad situation. And that's the thing. Again, with Risk, you can't. The way that real estate works right now is that people can bring a lawsuit against your development, even if you've gone through the proper channels and have approvals, and it can delay your project. And so, to no fault of your own, even if you're doing due diligence, your project, if you're doing it, could get stopped. So, again, back to the risk conversation. That's what's going on. Another issue, property management. Property management is probably one of my biggest concerns. And so when we say property management, I'm talking about two different things that go together. The building management and then the rental management, specifically Airbnb. I find that the building management in most projects is not good. When you stay at places that are a couple years old, the amenities start not looking good. Some of the stuff at the gym is not working. That's because they buy cheap gym equipment at a lot of places. Just generally, they're not proactive about management. And I don't think it's a funding issue with the service charge necessarily. I just think the level of professionalism, as was spoken before, is just not that high. And I think what needs to happen is some really good companies need to come into the market and start offering building management that the developers can pass off the management of the building to. I know that some of the developers are trying to form their own management companies separate from theirs to do better, but it's a systemic risk to me across the whole market, even the good developers. I'm very skeptical. And if you watch the videos when we talk about management plans, they will give you many hypotheses on what they're going to do. Oh, maybe we're going to have this company do it, but you could also do it yourself. Or we're in conversation about this, we're in conversation about that, but there are not very many solid, comforting answers to these questions. If you watch the Woodley Village video, when you watch my content, please read between the lines. I say, what is your past project history? And none of those projects are anything like the one that they're building. Risk. That's what that says to me. Hey, what's your track record of managing residential properties at this scale? None. Okay. Well, it could work out. And again, when you ask developers what their property management plan is, it's very thin. It's a risk, and that risk, I don't know how you can to mitigate it. Actually, in consultations, I've had very many. I've been bringing this up every time. Is that is one risk that's really hard to mitigate for. You can mitigate many of the other risks working with reputable lawyers that have been working for other people and been successful, dealing with developers that are highly vetted with long track records of performance. Understanding the culture better will help you not fall into pitfalls. So there's things that you could do about a lot of these risks. I think one of the risks that's a little bit hard to address is the property management risk. Political risk. A good thing and a bad thing at the same time is that the Kenyan government moves very fast. Like, this is a good example. So they're trying to implement traffic cameras that automatically ticket people for speeding, although they need to ticket people for not driving properly. I don't even think speeding is the big one. It's like the reckless driving needs to be curtailed greatly. But anyway, they keep announcing that it's going to start, and then it keeps getting stopped by some other organization or the courts, and then they say it's going to start, then they say it's going to stop. It's a little chaotic, and therefore laws, rules, and everything can change very quickly on you. The finance bill's coming up. They're proposing to change some of the taxes from, for example, the gross rental income from 7.5 to 10%. That's going to affect you. Risk. You see, and I think that there's probably, taxing foreign property owners a higher rate or something. I think that could be a likely thing that they do as well. Risk. I'm bringing it to you so that you are understanding of the risk and so that you can make a decision on if you want to enter and get involved with that. So it's funny, though, and this isn't a criticism, because I prefer that your government works fast and is trying to do things, and maybe they have to fix stuff as they're going, like amend things or fix them. As a side note, I think that's the number one problem with America is that our government doesn't work at all. Like, we can't pass anything substantial. We can't get anything done. That's actually why I think Kenya is a good place to invest. Because the U.S. is living on a history and systems and development, but I don't think the U.S. works anymore. Whether you're like conservative or liberal, it kind of doesn't matter. It's just that we can't. uh, I think that our political system is literally broken. We can't compromise. We can't move in any kind of direction. So if you move in no direction, you're just going to start stagnating. Hence, so it's funny. As a con to the risk of buying in Kenya, it makes Kenya attractive in a certain way because at least they're doing things. And I don't want to get all into the government, stuff with Kenya, but I mean, I find it encouraging that they can move fast. Now, whether they're moving in a good direction or not is a whole nother thing. But I think it's a good contrast. Currency risk. If you buy a off-plan property and the price is listed in Kenyan shillings, if your currency goes down, the price of that property essentially for you is going up. Now, against the dollar, I don't know how it stayed the same since 2024, basically, but it's basically stayed the same. But that's a risk. That's something that you should be aware of. Woodley Village, good location, but look closely at everything else. Yeah, since I'm more candid on the lives, Woodley Village, I think is really good because it's providing affordability in that area so people can actually live closer to where they work in Nairobi for like working class people. But I feel like the developer don't know what is going on, to be honest. Like I had a lot of questions and they didn't have a lot of answers, and I don't know. Are they up to the task? Ooh, talk about. So again, this is how we advise client because it's a high, like that project is very high risk because I don't know if they know what they're doing. I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling about those guys. Now, the other comparable project is Astra Bay, which is much further away. So Woodley Village is way better located. But that developer for Astra Bay has done stuff in Upper Hill. Their projects are pretty good. So I wouldn't be too worried about them actually finishing, although I went back to Astra Bay before I left. I didn't like the construction going on there. Like they had some concrete steps that I feel they have to redo them, but there's no space. Like the steps didn't line up properly. So how are they going to fix it? And then when I start seeing like big errors like that, I'm like, once I see like a fundamental construction error, I'm like, I'm out. I did not like that. Okay, so actually, those were all my risks. Those are all the things. So the whole purpose of this is to be real about buying property in Kenya. I think many people are dreaming about it. It's dope. Like, I actually don't tell people in the U.S. that I buy property in Kenya. They don't even know that I do any of this, pretty much. Most people, like people that I know, don't watch anything that I'm doing. So, ironically, but it would be a cool, interesting conversation to have with people. It's like, yeah, I own apartments in Kenya. Like, there's a lot of like romanticism about it, and it is a good thing. I'm excited to be investing in Kenya as well. But when I have conversations with people, I just want you to have the right mindset and the proper uh, like understanding of the risk that you're getting involved with. And I'm not saying that the risk is too high. I'm just saying like it's not working like your home country where everything's not perfect, but it feels like many things are very well established and are straightforward. This is not that. And if you're not good at dealing with that, I don't think you should do it. you have to have some roughness about like yourself to be like, okay, we're going to figure it out. Okay, this was misleading, but I'm going to get by over here. I'm going to make a savvy decision. My intuition, I think this developer is better than that one. Okay, I got the information from these other people. I think, you know, just be a little bit more skeptical and know what you're getting into. And I think it's fine. I think it's very exciting. But just don't be naive to the systems can't protect you in the same way that you're protected in Western countries. I think fundamentally that's an important thing to understand about any of this. Um, Interestingly, with Traverse Culture, if you watch Kia, she spends a lot of time trying to dispel the romanticism. She tries to keep things very practical. She'll even discourage certain people from going about things a certain way because of these reasons. And I feel very similarly because I don't want to facilitate or help someone buy when they have the wrong mindset and now they're mad at me later like, why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know that? How could this happen? It happened because these things can happen, and so for me it's important to give a balance because again, I think Kenya is in prime location to continue to grow. The middle class is doing better, although with the gas prices, it's getting a little tough with the prices. Um, International investment is coming. The UN, all this stuff. More businesses are coming, and a lot of money is coming. Now, I do hope that with that coming, the lives of everyday people improves, which requires good policy. But as long as like as that's the case, then things should be improving, and I want to participate and be part of the positive change and production and everything. It's a very exciting time, but there's risks and pitfalls, and you're not protected as much as you would be in where you're used to coming from for a lot of people. And so that's really one I want to emphasize. Also, as a side note, I actually think all this conflict in the Middle East benefits Kenya, minus the fuel prices. The Qatar and Dubai buyers, investors, relocators. Nairobi's becoming attractive for the world for some of those things. South Africa's troubles and stagnation. South Africa, if you wanted to invest in the continent, most people would like South Africa would be the top of the list. I think Kenya can be in the top three of those with Ethiopia, Rwanda. Nigeria still has a huge economy by the numbers, but man, try to do business there. So I think there's a lot of positive narratives that are leading its way to Kenya. So I'm not. I'm very. I'm excited about it, but I feel like people are coming with a blindfold, and you might do well by accident, but I just don't want you to jump in without understanding there are a lot of risks. And if you're scared of risk, don't do it. There was a COVID error project here in Cape Town that got canceled and people just got their money back late last year. See, I mean, that with construction and I mean, COVID, that combination of that, there's no way to mitigate that risk. But it's good they got their money back. But who could have predicted those two things happening at the same time, and with interest? But you got to wait that long. Yeah, and you didn't plan for your money to be there, which is my whole point is that you shouldn't be using money that you need to count on, in my opinion. This is why I'm against I'm going to sell everything at home and move to Kenya because, whew, I wouldn't want to rely on, eh, you know, any, like now you're stuck. You got to figure it out. You're burnt, you done burnt the boats, you burnt the ships behind you, and now you're stuck. Very risky. Woodley is gold for Kenyans if it's not affordable housing. I hope they incorporate a police post in vicinity. Oh yeah, yeah, because people are worried because it's near Kibera, but I mean they have the wall and security and all that. It's a public-private partnership, so the government gave them the land in exchange for some of the units. There were some people complaining that that's their home area. Actually, there's a whole documentary about Woodley Village. Woodley is named after another British guy like Karen. Well, Karen, she's Dutch, but why are these places named after them? Whatever. Anyway, um, I think it's a good thing in theory because you're able to bring a lot of population into, if the properties are at least decent, very decent housing in a location that's much better. Because if you guys aren't very familiar, there's people that live when it's like rush hour, it takes them 2 hours to get to work every morning, taking matatus to the CBD and then somewhere else. So imagine 4 hours of travel time per day. That sucks, man. So even if it's not the most highest quality building, if they can add 2,000 units in that area and give people like respectable housing, and not give you have to buy or rent there, but at a reasonable price to some degree, I think it's really a smart plan because it's not part of the government affordable housing program where it's free or whatever, however the government's doing it. It's a public-private partnership, which generally I think is better and more sustainable versus when you do free stuff. I think it's a really good thing. They need to force these developers to set aside units for affordable housing because no matter what, you're still going to create pocket. Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of schooling on civil planning about that stuff. You never want to put all your affordable housing in one area because you're going to like create a ghetto. If you spread your affordable housing, like for example, within a development, you have some of the units that are made to be an affordable price, whether the government forces the price to be that way or they just make them smaller and cheaper or something like that, and they make them a required offering. I think that's the best way to do it because if say say the Diplomat out of 800 units has 125 units that are affordable that are either rented for very cheap or you could be purchased for cheap or something like that. People usually conform to the environment. So if you live somewhere where there's trash on the ground, you're more likely to throw trash on the ground. So if it's mixed, generally these things won't happen. Now, again, that goes into building management and all that kind of stuff, but I think that's a better civil planning. But I actually think this is a good policy because, see, this is the thing. The government really could take advantage of the development that's happening right now. They should be making everyone fix all the streets, the sidewalks, and maintain them. I mean, the whole city would be improved by making the developers do it. And the developers will still make money, so it makes sense for everybody. I mean, in the U.S., that's what we do. Like, you become responsible for your immediate sidewalk and property frontage. I'm on the land development board in my town, so that I know about this stuff. Um, what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, and then if you mandate some level of affordable housing, you can. Again, I'm very much against putting them all in one area, But if you require all the developers to have affordable housing offerings, I think that can make a big difference. And so now, if you could take advantage of all this investment coming in, this is what I'm saying as far as like benefiting uh, the whole community and everyone in Kenya is like, okay, yes, a lot of this is the top 1% of income earners dealing with these properties, etc. How can we have that also benefit everyone? And by having more affordable housing in very good areas, because then the people living in those affordable housing in Westlands or even Woodley Estate, now you have more, job opportunities because you're close to the city. There's more proximity. There's a lot of good things that can come out of all that. Better housing in the ghetto is still the ghetto. Exactly. You want to mix it up. I agree. Ryan, question: how do you think the elections in Kenya would influence real estate? I was just on a call about this. I think that you'll see a timeout period where things don't move very much and everyone waits to see what happens. I think if there's a lot of unrest, um, if there's a high degree of violence or anything like that, I think that could be very damaging to the market long term. I think if it's just short, temporarily unrest and any kind of conflicts, then I think the timeout will be over and everything will mostly go back to normal and continue. Uh, I was talking to a client and they were feeling like everything's going up all the time. So do we have to rush and hurry up and buy before everything gets more expensive? And I was kind of saying that this time right now, in my opinion, if you're not sure about buying, I think you have time because once 2027 comes, I think that year is going to be kind of weird and slow. And so it kind of gives you some time to see what's going to happen before you take any action. So that was kind of my point of view about that. Hi, Ryan. Thoughts on the beautification of Nairobi? I follow a couple of channels in the area that documenting the upgrades looks promising. However, in the comments and Kenyans do not seem. Kenyans are never going to, they're just going to keep complaining about everything, just like Americans just complain generally. Um, my only problem is that these government projects are not sustainable. I think that they should make the developers do it because it's coming to election time, and that's, I guess, when the government starts doing all this kind of stuff, and then it gets left by the wayside. Then what's their management plan? I think when you have all this foreign investment coming, why not just make the private companies responsible for maintaining and developing this stuff, and then they can leave it to the government to enforce, or maybe they do the maintenance after it's already developed. Like if I buy something in Nairobi, they should make me plant the trees in front of the building and put the sidewalks and make the whole front and everything look good and walkable, versus it staying all crappy until the government gets around to doing it. I feel like you already have this opportunity with all this investment. Why not have policy that requires the investment to, part of that investment goes to developing the community areas. But yeah, Kenyans are always going to complain about this stuff, but I see improvements. There's some roads that I frequent that some potholes formed and then they were fixed quite quickly. Gong Road looks much better than it did when I first came in 2024. They're doing the flyover, which should help with traffic. Kenyatta Avenue, they're doing the flyover, which should help traffic from the CBD. Things are happening. Kenyans are very cynical about it, and I understand if I'm from a place, my point of view is much different. I'm positive, I'm optimistic. I see change, I see positive change with development. Now, people could say, oh, well, Talanta Stadium, half the money went to corruption. I don't know that. Show the evidence or whatever, but like, I see things happening. Now, is it happening in a wasteful manner? That's why I prefer public-private partnerships because companies don't waste money. Governments waste money. A company, if they waste money, goes out of business. So they have to do it efficiently. A government can waste all the money and not get anything done. And so whether that's waste or it goes to corruption, I prefer when you work with companies because the company has an incentive to do a good job. And so I prefer that strategy, but that gets into politics, left, right, conservatism, socialism, all that stuff. But I definitely lean one way on a perspective on that, especially if you don't trust the government that much. Why are you trusting the government to do all these projects? Whole nother conversation. Maybe I'll talk about. I don't talk about that stuff on my platform too much, but when I do guest appearances, maybe we'll talk about it. The Constitution is supreme. The fixation with election year fear will fade away. The klepto government will finally fall. Hallelujah. And the next government must be held accountable. Do I want to get into this? I think there's too much finger pointing at the government and not enough finger pointing at individual people and themselves. Okay, it does link to what I was saying. People will scam each other. So what do you think happens when you already have this mentality and then you get into government? What are you going to do? Like, there's people that give their family money while they're working hard in the diaspora, and they're telling them that they're building a house, and they think they're funding a house, and meanwhile their whole family just takes all the money and lies to them. And then those same people doing that will say, "Oh, the government's not doing what they're supposed to do." You're doing the same thing. Like, the government is made of people. I don't want to dive too much into it. We gotta. I don't know. I'm a little uncomfortable about my place in speaking about this, but I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with like Black Americans complaining about the U.S. holding them back. Like, is it really today? Or is it your choices? I don't know. It's just it's a cop out to blame government for everything, to me. Every government is corrupt and steals, by the way. Ours is just called campaign donations. Trust me, I know how this goes. Advise the Kenyans to change this mentality of thinking the government is there to provide for their livelihoods instead of getting it. Yeah, like, the government is not there to develop the country. The government really should be there to set up the rules and then let the people develop. And you have to set good rules so then the game is fair. And then if you can play a fair game, then you'll have good outcomes. Especially, I don't understand why if people say the government steals and is corrupt, and then they say the government should do X, Y, Z, how can you hold those two ideas in your head? I want the government to run the education system, but I think they're all corrupt and steal. So why would you give them money to run the education system then? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a public education. I'm just saying, how do those two ideas make sense together? Have you been to Tattoo City? I've been to Tattoo City many times. Jabali Towers, yes, they're running ads. They look cool. Why are they priced like they're in Westlands when they're 45 minutes without traffic, or 35 minutes without traffic from Westlands, and probably an hour and a half, 2 hours from city center? Like, that's like paying, say, a condo in Manhattan, New York, in the epicenter of the economy of all of America, is $5 million for a condo. And then you put a condo in Staten Island in the suburbs, which is not as nice or not near as much opportunity, and you price it the same. Why? How? There's nothing in Tattoo City. There's tax breaks there for businesses. There's nothing there. Like, what are you paying for? It's crazy. Like, why? Someone make the case. Also, they don't want. I can't do content there. What does that tell you? They don't. Haas gets sold either. You know why? Because they want to control their narratives. And so the narrative that you see about these places are very controlled. And if you let people show that stuff and give their own opinion, would that narrative continue? I don't think so. In Kenya, becoming an MP is like going to the NBA in America as far as salary of the yeah. So I did see you sent me that the proportion, the percentage salary against like the average salary or whatever is like really high, which then would say, because an argument in the U.S. is like politicians should be paid a lot so that they're not encouraged to do alternative. So if you're paid a lot as a politician, maybe you were less likely to take money, but I don't think that's true. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, guys. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. I have some other things to get to. Again, this jersey's by Jersey Bird. They have a really cool story in Kenya with their football team. You don't have to like football to find it interesting. It also has to do with business. I really like it. It's basically like Welcome to Wrexham on YouTube. Check it out. Very cool. Of course, Almasi Realty, our company that helps people buy and sell property in Kenya. We try to mitigate your risk and make sure that you know what risk is involved. We try to connect you with the best professionals, the best developers, so that you can make the best decision for yourself and advise you on all those things that help guide you through the process so that it's a little bit easier and we reduce the level of risk so more people can invest and buy and get involved and participate, which hopefully all of this benefits Kenya and the community, and the money travels around and there's more employment, and it's a whole long thing, but there is a deeper thing where we're helping things help out. Also, we're working on, weirdly that I came to this, we want to do some, it's not charity. I want to do some community involvement with the company, but I'm wondering what you guys think. Like, what would be the most effective thing that we can do as far as like giving back? And I'm not big into giveaways. Like, should we do classes for youth about real estate, how to get into the business? Should we do like an intern program? Like, what are cool things that we could do? I'm not so good at brainstorming this type of stuff, but I'm throwing that out there if any of you guys have ideas. But that's an initiative that I want to start by the time at least we've been in business for a year, and make that a core aspect that's like connected to the business. Kind of like Franklin. Franklin does the pad drives for girls, because apparently, like girls, if they can't get sanitary pads, then they're out of school for like a week. And so like I could see how that is incredibly impactful. FKC Legal does that. And I think that's a great thing. And that's why we like to work with them, because that's really important. And I want to find practical ways that really like tangibly help people. Yeah. Don't forget to give a thumbs up before Ryan signs off. It's important to maintain this. Oh, a like. Thank you. Tattoo City is planned private but zoned public and industrial land, so it is better for employees or career guys. International warehouse plant, so it's better than wetlands growth wise. Yeah, for like a commercial place. But then this is a luxury style tower in basically the middle of nowhere. How does that make sense? I don't know. People complaining all day after the government's behavior and then behaving exactly the same in their personal life. Yep, sounds accurate. On a personal note, how do you lose the weight you look like a retired airman now? GLP-1s, gray market, retatrutide. I go to the gym every day, but I've lost a lot of weight before naturally, but I'm a big advocate of the GLP-1 drugs, to be honest. You have to work out though. A lot of the bad results are from people that don't work out and just literally just don't eat, because all it does is reduce your appetite generally. And so you don't have to think about not eating when you're dieting, which sucks for a lot of people. So you don't get that like mind fog when you're really fighting to lose weight. And so I'm a big advocate of it. Look into it, but definitely don't just diet and don't work out, because you will lose muscle, and that's where you get that Ozempic face and like your body's deteriorating because you're not eating. Don't do that. I think it's like $75 to put a kid through school for a year. We could we could do that. We're gonna put that high on the list because that's a good one. Because I know I was talking to Franklin before. He met some kid at the coast, and they were not in school because they didn't have the school fees. And then he asked how much the school fees were, and they were like $75. That's crazy. I would definitely give someone $75 so their kid could go to school. I think that would be a really good thing to do. Because that makes such a big difference, right? Like not going to school as a kid and then letting $75 prohibit that. I think we can do something about that for sure. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate your transparency. Thank you. They call him hereditary now. Yeah, and I'm tan because I haven't shown you guys my house. I love my house here, and I have a pool. I have an outdoor kitchen and all that stuff. So I'm always outside chilling in the backyard. So that's how I'm glowing up a little bit. Actually, in Nairobi, I don't go outside that much. I will talk about that because when you're in Nairobi, you have to be like at a compound, and then it's hard to go place to place. That's the whole thing. Here, I'm outside a lot. I support the community service idea, internship that leads to students securing a job on graduation, especially at the company. Yeah, because we don't hire real estate agents, and we want to create our own separate culture from the real estate culture here. So, I mean, we'd very much be willing to take some interns in and train them up, and then bring them on, and then we do commissions for everybody. So it's very fair. They get a base salary as well, but if the company is doing well, they'll also be doing well. So I think having some kind of program like that's good. The problem is I'm not always in country for training, so eventually we're going to have to hire someone that understands the culture we're trying to build and then can train people when I'm not there. So, but I like the thinking on that. It's definitely something that we could be doing. Corruption is not bad. Corruption is only bad if I'm not involved. But if I'm not involved, I will exactly like people complain about corruption, and then when they get in that position, they're ready to do it too. You got to change the culture about that, man. To be this idea that once like the government's corrupt because I hate to say it, but the people are corrupt, and then that's where the corruption's coming from. It's not that the government's turning them corrupt. It's because now you have an opportunity to do it, and then they decide to do it. And I think deep down inside, most people feel that way about that kind of stuff. Is like, if I was there, I would do it too. Even if they complain about it. But I think that that happens everywhere. Oh, big super chat. Hold on. My soundboard disappeared. Wow. The chorus? I can't say nobody's name. Hey, Ryan, always appreciate the lives. Thanks for your take on Kenyan politics and our refusal to take accountability for our current state. Also, can you drop the info where you can get the jersey on? Yeah, let me do that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm really scared to talk about these things because I don't want to sound condescending, judgmental. I'm a guest here. I am a guest at the pleasure of the country and people of Kenya, and so I'd never want to be disrespectful or overstepping my bounds as a guest. So I try to be careful about that. At the same time, I don't know. I think when I say things, they're from a constructive point of view or try, but if they don't want to hear it, then that's a valid argument as well. Let me get the Cow Pride Jersey Bird. It's the Jersey Bird website, I think. They're always sold out too, which is pretty cool. And some of the proceeds goes to the team so that they get better services and stuff, or better they buy the team not just a food program. They have like a personal training program. They have a lot of stuff that's benefiting a lot of people. And like Kenya should be good at football. You have the best marathon runners. You have some of the best athletes. The rugby boys, oh my gosh. So if the league was better, there's more opportunity, because what happens is you have to go to work or whatever. You can't take it that seriously. So I think better infrastructure is so needed. I'm hitting an ad. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So this is their website, jerseybird.com. And then if you go to shop, Cow Pride, this is like their main jersey. They're starting to have some other things, the training jersey. So you can buy them here. And some of the money goes to support the team. They tell you in the videos. So just check out the videos on like how much of that the proceeds go to the team and helps develop the team and everything. But I really think it's an awesome project. If you watch the early episodes, you could see when they started. They like built a gym inside the clubhouse. They've instituted the food program. So they're hiring, like there's ladies that cook there every day. So now they're getting money in the economy. I love the story. There was a little bit of a controversy with the sponsor that they got, but I love these things, and it shows that it doesn't take that much to make a really big impact in Kenya. And, I'm a big fan of doing it through some sort of business or development rather than just giving stuff away. Like, what can you build that can last and sustain itself? How can you employ people? And so I think this is a good testament of that. So I'm very supportive of those type of things. And hopefully it motivates others to do the same, but it's risky. Okay. That's I don't want you to come and have a problem and then be mad about it. I want you to come, learn, make good decisions, build, and then, benefit people. So absolutely. Dr. Deca gifted 5 memberships. It's funny. I was wondering if people could do that. That's awesome. Because I know there's a lot of Kenyans that want to get in the membership, but they're like $5 could be a lot for the membership. So that's cool. Hopefully some people can get those memberships. I don't know exactly how they get distributed, but thank you so much. That's awesome. corruption build up New York, entire America. They just need budget for it, then do the public with other budget. Yeah, like Las Vegas is the mob and corruption with the Teamsters Union. Hey Ryan, sorry I'm late to the live. Would you mind briefly going over the cost of living there for someone who has, you need to make as an individual $4,000 a month to be able to do everything that you want to do all the time with no thoughts about money. When you come back, you should visit Jersey Bird, Cower Pride. Yeah, I was going to. I had communicated with them. Actually, I do sports photography, and I was just gonna like go there, do some photography, and watch the game at the same time. But it just didn't happen. I got so busy. But I would love to collaborate with them. But you know how Kenyans are with the cameras and all that. So I was like, let me like go through the proper channels before I just hop over there and just pop up. And I'm sure they're busy too, so we just never connected, but I would really like to. But check them out. Again, you don't have to like football to watch their YouTube channel. Again, it's super interesting, especially if you watch like their like older videos, actually like maybe episode 1. Like I'd go back and watch not this one. This. Actually,
I just bought a professional football club. Here's how it all started. Our story begins in Kisumu, a vibrant city on the shores of Lake Victoria, known for its deep football history, bustling markets, and a rich history as a trade hub in Western Kenya. 17-year-old Joseph Okumu, a Kisumu native and up-and-coming star center back, just signed with Chemelil Sugar FC in the Kenyan Premier League, taking his first major step towards a professional football career. The 6'4" prospect makes an immediate impact, and 2 years later, he signed with South Africa's Free State Stars. Then in 2018, heads to America to join AFC Ann Arbor, and later that year he moves yet again to Real Monarchs in the USL Championship, appearing in 12 games over 2 seasons. Then a big break. In August of 2019, Okumu transfers to IF Elfsborg, a Swedish club playing in the Allsvenskan, the nation's top level of professional football. During his first few weeks in Sweden, he connects with Matthias Olander, a teacher from the area, and they begin discussing Kenyan football, specifically Kahawa Sportive Soccer Academy, a vibrant academy of players from 5 to 6-year-olds up to the senior team for both men and women, with the men's team playing in the local low-level county league. Immediately, Matthias is hooked. He sees the potential and wants to be involved. Together, in August of 2022, they decide to rebrand the academy as Kahawa Pride FC with a clear mission: to bridge the gap between Kenya's top talent and the heights of European football. The first game of the newly rebranded Kahawa Pride FC was set on a grand stage, Nyayo National Stadium, against none other than the Kenyan Premier League side, Kariobangi Sharks. Among those in attendance was Nick Mwendwa, president of the Kenyan Football Federation, adding even more weight to the occasion. Pulling up to the arena was surprise number 1. Facing a fully professional club in the Sharks was surprise number 2, but surprise number 3 hit the hardest. Inside the locker room, freshly laid out, were their brand new kits: maroon and green, a fresh logo, and a new identity. Walking out of the tunnel beside...
Let's see, does he get into it? No. Okay, so that's kind of like the prelude to it, but he actually like start sharing like how much they spent, how much they made, like what's going on. So like it can appeal to a lot of different kinds of people. Super cool. And you see like they're trying to make a pipeline so that players have an opportunity to be able to get to Europe and get bigger contracts and things like that. I think it's just a really good thing. So that's way up my alley for the type, that's the type of approach that I like to have. Whatever your hobby or interest in, how can you make it, build it into something that benefits even more people? So, yes, guys, that's all I have for today. Hopefully not too negative. I think we were keeping it pretty realistic. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat from the Chorusum. I don't know how to say words. And Dr. Deca, the 5 memberships, and everybody that participated. Shout out to JB, Victim of Madness, Godfika, Holly GZNA, and many other of you guys. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me and having this conversation. Hopefully it was beneficial. Hopefully it was helpful. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this very hot day. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday too. I think I should be back next Sunday, and then the Sunday of Juneteenth I won't, because I'll probably have some kind of party or some kind of thing. And Check out Almasi Realty if you guys are looking to buy or sell. Go to our website, fill out the form, and we'll be able to help you out. And let me know, DM me or comment what's the best thing that we can do as far as community outreach, giving back, and developing the community. I want to brainstorm some of the best ideas because once we get into it, we want to build something that's sustainable. So please give me your ideas. And with that said, have a good rest of your